Hey folks, East of Eden grower Creedmoor Fury here, coming to you from my farm in Piedmont, North Carolina. Today's discussion, what we're going to be talking about, is about taking local soil biology and making compost tea with it. Talking about taking some collections of soil biology that may be near to your farm or near to your home or near to wherever your garden is, and we're going to go ahead and make a compost tea with it, and then we're going to use that to inoculate your garden with a set of biology that we know is already living and thriving. Okay, so anyway, before we get started, I'm going to show you the tools that we're going to use, and I have pretty much everything here before me that you're going to need. If you don't already have these, I suggest you go ahead and source them locally somewhere. This is, as I understand, a lingerie bag. It has a zipper on top. It allows us to put media inside. It's a very fine mesh. We can put media inside this. You'll see we're going to be collecting. And then this can be either zipped up, I should say, and then it can be dunked into a pail with water, and the biology can be extracted through the mesh, and then it'll be in the liquid. Or this can be allowed to sit within the pail and the liquid, and it can be aerated, and the biology will transfer that way. Anyway, that's the first item. Obviously, the second item is always going to be a pail. We like to make 5-gallon batches, and this is not the pail we're going to be using. This is the pail we're going to be using to hold the tools to take us down to the location where the pump is. It's going to pump oxygen into this solution for 24 to 48 hours while it multiplies itself. So, next tool, I got a little tiny shovel. I like to use this. It's got kind of a keen edge on one side and a serrated edge on the other side. Sometimes when you're taking these soils from where there are trees, there are some roots and things like that. You might need to kind of just, wiggle it about to get what you need. We don't need a whole lot. We're really only looking to put about a pound in here. And on that note, I've got a portable fishing scale. It's a fisherman's scale. It allows me to measure things in ounces, pounds, kilograms. I select pounds, and I'll actually hang this to a tree branch, which you'll get to see later. And then there's a hole in the zipper that hangs right on this little hook, and I can scale it, and I can see, do I have a pound, do I have a pound and a half? It's going to tell me what I got. I know I need a pound for 5 gallons. But between these 3 or 4 items, the only other thing that you're going to need is an air pump with an air stone. We've talked about that in other compost tea videos. And you'll also need some type of a clean, clear, chlorine or chloramine-free, untreated water source to make your microbiological mix in. And you'll also need some type of party food. In my case, I like to use the fats from regular organic cow milk. I like to use the proteins from that, and I like to use the sugars from low sulfur or no sulfur blackstrap molasses or brown sugar. That works as well, things like that. The white sugar's been bleached, so I don't really trust that. And there's a couple of other things. One of the other things that I like to use is called larch tree extract, and I think its trade name is rabinogalactin, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, you can find those online. They're all prebiotics, and they're used for feeding the biome. And once we transfer the biome from the bag into the liquid solution in the other pail, we're going to feed it, we're going to give it some oxygen, and we're going to capitalize on all of the aerobic forms that are in there. If there are some anaerobes in there, they won't choose preference for this particular solution because it's going to have lots of oxygen in it. And really, in as short as a day or 2 days, you can have a vital enough nutrients set and a vital enough biological set to complement your already existing growing zones where you might be seeing conditions like failure to thrive or summer heat stress or solar stress. Any of those stresses, typically you can trace them back to lack of biological support within the soils. And we know this because you can look at an area like, for instance, where I'm standing. These trees, they never get watered. I don't water them. I don't feed them. I don't do anything to them. They're completely fed by the soil food web. And all we're looking to do is transfer some of the greatness that they have from their growing zone into our little baggie, then into our pail, then into our garden. Okay, folks, so here we are at my first soil sample withdrawal zone. And by the way, just a quick disclosure, we're on my land. If I was on someone else's land, the first thing I would do would be to knock on the landowner's door and ask for permission to take a pound of their soil. Don't go getting yourself into trouble by trespassing. If you're caught trespassing on somebody's land, even if you have a really, really noble excuse, I can't guarantee that their reaction is going to be positive. So that being said, we are on my property, so free to do as I please, and all of the other sites that we're going to take soil from are also on my property. I'm going to take some soil from right here. This is an area on my land under great shade, underneath hickory, underneath a bunch of other trees that are local to my zone that thrive here, and I'm basically going to, with a gloved hand, grab some of this. That's all I need. You can take a whole lot less than this. Really, you can truly take a whole lot less than this. But like I said, this is my place, and this is a known fertile zone with no toxicity. We are up on the top of my hill. It's been bagged. Okay, so here we are at my second soil sample site. And the one thing I want to mention about this particular site is I know that the soils that come from here are hyphae rich. This is a fungi wonderland over here. For years and years and years, we've piled up firewood to be used, in our ventures and around, to be donated, given to be used for growing things like mushrooms, etc. And this pile is a result of probably 10 or 15 years of collections. There's also wood chips that were laid here many, many years ago, and as a result, this is definitely a fungi or fungal dominant zone on my property. And I'm going to take, with my shovel, I'm basically just going to scoop down, go all the way down to dirt, and just shovel up a little bit of this. I'm just going to steal away a little bit of this. Y'all can see I'm even taking it from below the wood pile and below where we've got some mushroom growth right here, on the side of the end grain of those little logs right there. So I know this is going to be rich in soil biology, and I want to exploit that. And y'all can see we didn't take much. I didn't have to take a whole lot. Just one little scoop of this, and we're already making weight. So from here, we're going to go to one other spot, one other location behind me, and we'll get another sample. So here we are underneath a giant old oak tree. This oak tree's been here for a very long time, and I'm on the back side of it. It is a shady side. We've got some moss growing here, and fairly deep bit of debris as a result of the tree's interaction with the soils, and of course branches and things of that nature falling from the tree itself, loaded with mycology. We definitely want to transfer this mycology to what we're making. We want to transfer the bacteria that's supported along with that mycology to exactly from here to our garden. So once again, I'm going to rely on the shovel because this might be a little more coarse. I can even kind of scrub away at it a little bit and take a little bit of that off the top. We're not going to damage the ecosystem by snagging some of this, I promise you that. And I'm not even going into the luscious, because I know there's some microbiology in there that I really like looking at under the microscope. Things like water bears like to call their homes in these types of moss. But I'm just going to steal away just a little bit of this. Just a little bit of that. It's going to end up in there. Tiny little bit. They're not even going to know it's gone. And if everything goes well, when I get these guys hydrated and I get the soil stabilized and shaken out, and I've got my party food mixed in with this, we're going to get a really, really good transfer of biology into the liquid solution. It's going to multiply, and we're going to have billions and billions of times of what we started out with. I'm not a human scale, so I'm not really sure what this is, but we're going to go ahead and take a sample from one more location, and then we'll weigh this. We'll know what we have. If we hit our mark, we can move ahead with making tea. Good stand of timber. It's a windrow, and it's got a lot of variety as far as different types of trees go. We've got white oak, we've got ailanthus, there's maple, there is sassafras, there's even some blackberries growing down in here underneath this giant oak tree. Not sure if y'all can see that. And below the oak tree, we've got some muscadine vines. You know we love muscadine, and there's even a scuppernong a little bit further in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take some of this leaf litter off the top, and then I'm going to grab what's just below that but above the dirt, maybe even a little bit of dirt. Will be our final grab for today, and then we're going to head down to the pond and see if we can make some tea. I do kind of like having the extra pail because you can kind of keep everything consolidated. And now, there can be some snakes in here, so you do have to be paying attention and keep your wits about you anytime you're lifting up the leaves. Even got some termites I can see. Here I am down at the horizon soils. They're right on the edge. And that little bit of scraping away has revealed them right here. We're going to steal away a couple of handfuls of this. There we have it. And folks, if you get some leaves in there, that's not a problem. There's plenty of biology on the leaves. It's really not an issue. The more biology, the more diverse the biology set you have, the better off you're going to be. And I'm going to say that's probably about a pound. So we're going to go ahead and head down to our pond area where we have the aeration to complete this process. And we'll put a scale on this and see what we've got. Maybe we'll get lucky and find a branch that we can hang our scale on, and if we've got a pound or just more than a pound, we should be fine. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and mix this media up, get it as mixed up as I can. That way, if I have to parse some of it out, I know that I've got a fairly diverse set of soil mixture in here, and I won't be giving up any more of one thing than anything else. A little bit of common sense goes a long way, folks. Just trying to be gentle. Not trying to produce too much shock to the organisms. I know they're in there. We've seen them under the glass. And that's about it. We have a little bit of this. Just a few ounces. All right. Mix it again. Now we're going to put it on that scale. I've got the scale hanging on the grapevine trellis over there, which is only a few feet away. So that'll give us a quick measure of what we got. With any luck, right on. Alright folks, so basically all I did was I took this little fisherman scale. I like to use this when I go fishing on the rivers. And I hung it from the top line on my grape trellises. You can see we're in the vineyard right now. And the bag actually has a zipper on it that has a little hole in the end of it. Probably I can show you if I get a little closer. And we're just going to take that little hole, I'm going to zero out our scale, attach it to the hook gently, and let it drop. And it is showing right at about a pound. We'll check it one more time. Or I should say just a little bit more than 1 pound 1 ounce, and the bag weighs 2 ounces. So we're maybe an ounce shy of a pound. I think we're going to go with it. And there you have it, folks. Now we have roughly 1 pound of media that we're going to take down to where my little compost tea station is, and we're going to dunk it. And I'm going to show y'all how the water gets darker and darker and darker. Okay, and once I'm satisfied after about 5 minutes of dunking, after I've got a sufficient amount of in and out of the water, after I know that it's been really, really hydrated well and dunked sufficiently, there'll be a great transfer of microbiology, and we're going to go ahead and embellish that. All right, folks, here we go. Down here at my pond-based compost tea station, I've got air I'm going to be able to steal from here, and I've got a second pail. And this pail has about 3 gallons of water in it, and all I'm going to do is enter this into it, just like that, submerge it all the way, and dunk it. A little bit of shaking. It's going to transfer a whole bunch of biology right to the water. And then what I'm going to do is put conditioner in it and oxygenate it, and then I'm going to feed it to my plants in my garden. But this is a great way for you to get a sufficient amount of locally based, successful soil microbiology that exists, near enough to where you live and where you grow your plants for it to be valid. We could take soil biology from other areas, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be in any way, shape, able to endure whatever environmental restrictions are already in your zone. Some places are hot, some places are hot and dry. We've got some places that are still hot and moist. This isn't one of them. There's a lot of drought here. Even though we had a little bit of rain, it's still pretty droughty. Anyway, we're already looking deep, deep brown right now. This does not take a lot of time to do. And I can aim that up towards y'all, and you can see it's looking pretty good. But I'm not done yet. I'm going to give it a little bit more, because I'm here. I even got some wood chips there. We also, from our last grab, figured I'd take some of that hyphae that might be on them or in them. And we know it's preferential to wood. And we're just going to go ahead and see to it that it works its way into this pail. So far, so good. That's about enough. We really don't need to do much more than that. Give you one final look. Bring this into the sunlight if we can. There's a little ray of light right there. Y'all can see how deep and dark it is. Here we can see the media is being oxygenated well. This is being oxygenated as well. And all I have to do is add the conditioner that's going to feed this biology and encourage it to multiply, and another maybe 1.5 gallons or 2 gallons of water to bring it all the way up to the top. And for that, I'm actually going to use water that's coming right out of my pond to do so. And we'll get a great mix of biology. So in order for me to confirm that I have a good bit of biology, I can take a drop of this into the lab, and we can put it under the microscope and we can inspect it. And just about every single time I've ever done this, as long as we've been adding oxygen to it, we've found a plethora of aerobic biology that's just thriving in these conditions. And the plants love it, the grasses love it, the trees love it. I can't mention enough about how many organics actually appreciate this stuff. It's safe to use even in your house plants. It doesn't smell, it doesn't stink, it doesn't have a strong odor, it's not pungent. Typically the anaerobic teas and the anaerobic plant juice extracts, they smell really, really, really bad. This doesn't do that. This isn't doing that. And none of this does that either, because it's rich in oxygen, and those biologies that enjoy that seem to thrive, and they displace all of the other biology, or they at least put it in a position where it's not dominant. And that's what we want, folks. I've already completed making my batch of local soil biome. The media bag is inside the fluid. I only have the initial startup amount, which was about 3 gallons. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put another 1.5 gallons, maybe 2 gallons of some of my pond water into here. I'll get the pond microbiology as well. It's really, really simple just to transfer it 1 quart at a time or 1 gallon at a time. For me, for those of you that don't have this, that's fine. Y'all can also collect rainwater, that works. I'm going to get enough in here so that I know later on I've got sufficient sized batch. I like to make these batches 5 gallons at a time. You can see there's one back here and there's one right here. This one here is made from worm castings, and this one is made from local soils. So the worm casting tea is going to have a set of microbiology that goes to it that's different than what my local soils have, and that's fine. No telling what I'll have in here. But we know this, as long as I keep this oxygenated, Mother Nature will select the aerobic versions of microbiome. Now I'm going to give it party food. We've talked about party food before. What's included in this party food is 3 tablespoons of Alaskan fish emulsion and about 2 or 3 dry ounces of brown sugar and about 2 to 3 liquid ounces of organic, regular organic cow milk. It works because of the fats. It does not been stripped of any fats. Proteins are all intact. And as you can see, once I mix them together, this is really just those liquids. There's no water in this, so this is a concentrate party food. When I put it into here, it will immediately hydrate and it'll start to feed the microbiome. They'll start to flourish and they'll multiply. So the conditioner is one of those items that we do add. Boy, it's blazing hot out here. We do add it. I like to add it after I complete making the tea. And it's that simple. You know, you can rinse it out. I just wash my hands when I'm done. Usually I'm wearing gloves, but I've got a water point nearby. I'm going to go ahead and clean my hands up. And that's about it. You know, you can see by the color of the tea, it looks really, really, really good. I'll bring you in a little bit closer. Hopefully y'all get the point. Now I did leave the lingerie bag in. I could have left it out. We got lots of airflow from the pump. Here's a shot of my pump. That pump is putting air into my pond water as well in a couple of locations, and it's also putting air into another compost tea generator. So we have the two of them together. Alright, explains it pretty well. Hope you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and come back for more cool info.